Good morning and welcome to another edition of From the Desk of Dan White. And we usually start with a market update. And it's kind of interesting. On Monday on Wall Street, the major U.S. indexes dropped 0.5 percentage point or more across the board at the opening bell. And then followed Friday's down day on the heels of a government jobs report that showed a rising unemployment rate. But before we go calling this a new bearish trend, consider this. In the past 30 calendar days, this is the fourth time we've seen the S&P 500 index decline for 2 consecutive days. Yet the index is up almost 2% or more than 20% annualized in that same span. So when you look at the performance of the U.S. benchmark index since the start of the year, in short, we've seen brief mini sell-offs in 2024, but the market has recovered after each one and pushed higher. This behavior is not new. And since the ripping year-end rally in 2023 tied to expectations for Federal Reserve rate cuts this year, the S&P 500 has closed lower in roughly 44% of the trading days this year, but it's up overall about 7%. And then yesterday, Uncle Sam released the latest inflation report. And the headline consumer price index rose 0.4% in February. That's more than double the Federal Reserve's 2% annual rate if you annualize that number. And the annual change came in at 3.2%, higher than expectations. The quick takeaway, the pace of inflation appears to be accelerating. And the Fed's preferred inflation indicator, core personal consumption expenditures, also rose 0.4% in January. Now, you might be asking, isn't that a bad thing? But enough investors today not only shrugged at the latest CPI numbers, but saw them as a bullish sign. The major U.S. indexes chugged higher after a 2-day slide, and the benchmark S&P 500 hit another new all-time high yesterday. So the market's reaction is kind of telling behavior to me. A lot of times it wasn't that long ago when a decimal point of inflation data in the wrong direction would lead the markets to a big down day. I mean, in 2022 and 2023, investors and traders believed higher than expected inflation meant interest rates were going to go higher as the Fed would raise rates. But today, a small overshoot in U.S. inflation doesn't seem to be a big deal to investors and traders, at least not yet. So you can make a bullish case. Investors seem to be taking Fed Chair Jerome Powell at his word that the central bank will lower rates in 2024. Life will get easier with lower rates. Add it up, and here's the bullish argument. There's conviction in a continued Fed pause. While reported GDP growth is more than 3%, unemployment is less than 4%, and there's the promise of rate cuts coming despite inflation numbers accelerating the past 2 months. Another bullish sign, we're in a presidential election year, which historically has been a 17% rate of return during election years. The number of New York Stock Exchange listed stocks trading above their 200-day moving average is also around 60%. And the S&P index is trading well above its longer-term average, too, like you would expect to see in a bull market. But that doesn't mean the story can't change. Perhaps today's setup is leading to one huge surprise. You can look at stock market valuations to make you scratch your head, or the troubled state of commercial real estate and wonder how far the fallout will spread. That's why it's always wise to prepare for various outcomes and keep them in mind when making investment decisions. If the present narrative shifts, and Powell makes a boo-boo by making promises he can't keep if inflation keeps going higher, or another risk upends things, the market could be in for a big adjustment. But right now, things are looking pretty good. All right, I want to remind everybody tax day is rapidly approaching. April the 15th is right around the corner. So if you've not yet put in your IRA contribution for 2023, time is getting short. You might want to call the office and get that set up. Our Lewis office is officially open. We're excited about that. And we're going to have a grand opening celebration on June the 13th at 4 p.m. So we want to welcome, if you have a house down in Lewis and you want to come to our grand opening, bring one of your neighbors. That would be it's going to be a great event. And we really look forward to seeing everybody at our Lewis grand opening, June the 13th at 4 p.m. We'll have more details as it becomes closer. We also have a Philadelphia Union game referral event. We've had an overwhelming response to this. I mean, I didn't know soccer was that popular. I guess it is. But we've now moved to a wait list. And for those of you who still have signed up to come, but still need to bring a guest to a seminar, the final date to do so is April the 24th. So if you don't bring a guest to one of our programs, then unfortunately we can't invite you to the referral event. So contact Kristen for a list of upcoming seminars and for more information. We're also starting a new thing this year. We're going to start doing a couple happy hours for some of the employers that we have several clients from. And our first one is going to be a Christianic Care happy hour. We're going to be hosting a happy hour on April the 25th at Firebirds in Newark. So if you are an employee or a retired employee of Christianic Care and you can bring a friend out to meet us at a happy hour, keep a lookout for an emailed invitation. And another note, if anyone would like to host a happy hour with their employer or other employees, please reach out to Kristen for details. We'd be happy to do that. We generally want to meet other people that you work with and perhaps talk to them about what we could do for them. The golf outing, 16th annual charity golf outing benefiting Granting Others Dreams will be taking place on June 24th at Penn Oaks Country Club. We're going to have a flyer coming out shortly on that. And if you or anyone you know has a business and would like to sponsor a hole, sponsor the lunch, sponsor an open bar, we have multiple sponsorship opportunities available. And again, please contact Kristen, our events coordinator, for more info. As always, we appreciate everybody who's given us a Google review for Middletown and Glen Mills. But if you have a Gmail account and have not yet had the opportunity to go online, we would really appreciate it if you would take 30 seconds, a minute, go online to your Gmail account and give us a Google review. It really helps us in the search engine optimization. From what they tell me, it moves us higher up in the rankings. And finally, Easter hours. Dan White and Associates office will be closed on Good Friday, March the 29th, in honorance of Good Friday and Easter. And I think that's a wrap up for this month. And I do want to wish everyone out there from Dan White and Associates, all our colleagues and all our staff members, a very happy Easter. Have a great day.